We celebrate the birthdays of some very important men in U.S. history this month, most notably George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. But here in 2013, in the state of New York, we also celebrate the birth of something more concrete, literally, something that changed the island of Manhattan forever.
Coming in here and saying, wow, this is a special building, was the actual intent of the architects, Warren and Wetmore. There were two teams of architects, but Warren Wetmore is responsible for the look of the place. And Warren wrote about this. He said, you know, the train station is the first thing you see on entering a city. It's sort of the equivalent of the city gate from medieval times, or the triumphal arch in ancient Rome. If you get to a city wall and the city gate is a little dinky gate, then it's probably a small town. But if it's an enormous gate designed by Michelangelo, you're probably in Rome.
Grand Central Station, or Grand Central Terminal as it's technically known, turns 100 years old this month, an architectural splendor that over 750,000 people travel through each day.
It was the largest train station in the world when it was completed. So that all by itself makes it stand apart. At the same time, it was incredibly efficient. It is enormous, and yet you can come in from 42nd Street, you step right into the main waiting room where we're standing now, and then a few feet further and you're in the main concourse where you can get your ticket, go to the information desk, continue walking across the floor, and you're at your train. You can be there in 2 minutes. Think about other train stations where you have to walk and walk and walk to get from your train. So it's very carefully done. That's Reed and Stem. They were the other architectural firm. They were the ones who really understood circulation patterns. They brought in the ramps. This was the first grand stairless station that had ever been built. There are stairs, but mostly there are ramps that basically harness the force of gravity to keep people moving.
And keep moving they do, living up to the expression, it's as busy as Grand Central Station. Grand Central Terminal was almost torn down in the 1970s before some New Yorkers came in to save it, including a former First Lady.
The room in which we're standing was a huge homeless encampment, which was a humanitarian disaster, but it was also bad for the terminal. The place was a wreck. Train travel was declining. And the plan was put forward to replace the superstructure with a skyscraper. And then, okay, well, we'll put it on top. But this happened to be just a few years after the creation of the New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission. One of the last major monuments to be demolished before the commission came into existence was Penn Station, the other grand train station. How could the Landmarks Commission say, oh, sure, tear it down? They really couldn't. And it was a huge battle, and it was a lot of guts on the part of the city. And it was helped along with outside groups, particularly the Municipal Art Society, which is a small nonprofit membership organization that's now over 110 years old. But they were very active. And Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, who was living in New York at the time, apparently called them up and said, how can I help? We can't let this happen. And they started a campaign. And of course, if you're doing a campaign for the press, it's really helpful to have somebody like Mrs. Onassis there because she attracts attention.
The U.S. Supreme Court ruled in 1978 that because Grand Central had been deemed an historic landmark, the owners at the time, Penn Central, could not demolish it.